Coming to you live from the Business Radio X studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Ready to revolutionize your franchise with AI? Franchise Now empowers franchises with advanced AI solutions, automatic processes, and enhanced marketing strategies. From personalized customer interactions to predictive analytics, we help you harness AI to drive growth and efficiency. Transform your franchise with the power of AI. Visit Franchise Now to learn more and take your business into the future. Now, here's your host.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley. Today, we have a great guest. We're going to zero in on technology, but I have with me today Frank Ponce. He's the Executive Director of Operations at Uni K Wax. And he's going to explain to you all about the business model and brand. But welcome to the show, Frank.
Hi, Rob.
Great to have you. So, Frank, as we just dive right in, I wanted to I always like to level set everybody. So tell us a little bit about your journey into the brand and how that happened. I know it's been a few years, but why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what you've been doing since you started? And I know there's been lots of projects. We're going to talk about a lot of that, but tell us a little bit about how you came to be with the brand.
So I joined a brand in 2018. Previous to that, I had worked for a technology company for many, many years here in South Florida. So I'm very familiar with the territory, traveled a lot because of that. So, I came to Uni K towards the later part of 2018, the director of operations. And it's been a good five plus years with the company. I'm in charge of anything that has to do with the day-to-day processes, opening studios, training franchisees, training personnel, and just delivering on all the initiatives that we have as a company to better support them and in turn their customers.
So I always like to ask, because I know you came from the tech world, and I did too, actually. I spent at least 14 years in the corporate world, mostly in technology companies, working with other big companies, and but then got into franchising. And to me, it was really cool. It was different. And there's some really big brands, obviously, that we know about that are big companies as well. But franchising is also like a collection of small businesses, right? Networks of small business owners and brands. And it's really powerful. But I know it's different. So tell me a little bit about your transition. It must be kind of fulfilling, I would think, to be in something like this versus a big company or big corporate type roles that you probably had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that coming from, like you said, the larger corporate structure, it was a great experience, a lot of very educational. You put in a lot of things into place professionally that you can carry on with you. The advantage of working with a smaller network per se is that you now have better insight, more access, and easier decision-making, quicker decision-making to do the things that you feel are necessary. Whereas before there was a lot of red tape, a lot of people to kind of go through and to make things happen. I'm really, I enjoy that side of it, being able to move diligently and make those decisions and have them impact and see how they impact the business sooner rather than later, right? Which happens a lot with the bigger corporations.
Yeah, many times you've been long gone since whatever changed happened, right? But no, exactly. Thank you for that. And so the beauty industry, at least from my external view of it, and I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that technology is a part of it. And in retail, you have to evolve. Tell me a little bit about when you came on board. You obviously had a vision or started to formulate one and a plan. And I know it's been about 5 years or more now. Tell me a little bit about what you did and how that started to impact, or maybe how the brand has kept up with technology. Like, what were some of the things you had to start to put into place that are now operating, right, that have helped you stay ahead of other brands?
So, it's a funny story. We were, I say we, my wife was an actual customer for the brand. And without even knowing it, I ended up working for Uni K Wax But she was definitely sold on this, and she had nothing but great things to say about her experience. It was her place. So when I came on board, as you mentioned, I brought a lot of the tech with me, the knowledge, and I always saw, we had a great product. It's an all natural product. We have great techs or waxers. We call waxers. Person actually performs the services. I think that the part that was missing was being able to adapt to today's world and streamline the process. Really help customers have them feel identified with who we were, and be that place for them as well. So, everything from being able to book from an app to being able to, pay for your services while you're still in the room before you even leave. Those are all a great part of that vision, right? Just making it very simple for our customers to feel identified and to just be their place, because they understand that this was part of their day to day. It felt very normal to them because they were used to the technology, and now we had made that a part of our process.
Yeah, it's interesting. You made a few comments there. So I know that the point of sale system is a very important piece of technology in this experience. Can you tell me how that was that one of the bigger sort of projects where you had to have that sort of hub, that sort of tech, that platform in place to sort of fulfill that sort of end-to-end experience? Can you kind of explain how the point of sale system played into that and the end-to-end of it, like from the day I meet you guys to like how that full experience is sort of run through that platform and maybe I'm not totally, maybe it's not the only platform, but how does point of sale kind of kick this off? I know it's an important part.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was pivotal in being able to offer all of this. 2019, we really started to do the groundwork, kind of finding that partner that had the software with capabilities we were looking for. Beginning of 2020, right before, everything happened, we fully launched the new software platform, including the POS and everything else, across all of the studios, all the entire franchise network. And, it really was all encompassing. This provider, this partner, they not only had the app that we needed, right, to be in tune, like I said, with today's world, but from the point of sales process, they just offered a lot more capabilities that we had always wanted to implement. For example, a membership program, or what we now call our K packs. So it's when you purchase packages of services ahead of time, and all that infrastructure was what they really offered. And it gave us the opportunity to offer that in turn to our customers. Prior to that, we could say our hands tied to a degree, because we didn't have the capability from a software standpoint. So yeah, the POS was pivotal. It gave us the opportunity to build the dreams that we had for the company, to make those offers enticing for our customers, and just the ease of use as well.
Yeah, as I hear you talk, I'm trying, because you and I talked a little earlier about just changing the experience for adapting to the way people buy and the way they were used to doing things. And a lot of the stuff that we started to get used to in the 2010s in the on-demand world, like, on-demand entertainment to Prime, or if you look at Netflix, and where all these credit-based systems where you can buy credits and just stock up on them and get discounts because you do so, and you just know you're going there regularly, so you do that kind of thing. That is a very digital sort of approach, but then this integration or this flow over to the offline world is what we need to do, right? And this is what you guys realized years ago and put into place. So that's what I was picking up on. So it's kind of like I go there for the experience. I've got great techs to take care of me and all that, but it almost feels very virtual otherwise. I can pay on demand. I can buy credits ahead of time. I can leave and pay, probably leave when I'm done. Like, I don't have to check out or pay the reception, pay someone, wait in line. Like, it literally it feels more on demand, like that world. So that's kind of what you're saying, right? You wanted to create that experience for buyers that feels that way. Is there anything else I missed that's similar? I know you mentioned membership, so that's part of it, to always be a part of that. But anything else that's really innovative? And I also answer that, and then I also wanted to maybe you could follow up with some of the safety and the way you take care of doing it in a healthy way, and how tech plays into the actual, I guess, process of the service.
So yeah, going back to the first one, it's funny because, like I said, we launched in 2020, and as you know, the world is basically coming to a stop. So as we reopened our doors, we had just launched this new software system, right? But it actually played out really well because it helped out with the safety aspect you're speaking about, in terms that when somebody would visit, when a guest would come in, they could log in from their phones, or they can log in from an iPad. So the whole 6 feet rule and having X amount of people in the building, it all was really coming into place. And, this happened without us knowing. Obviously, nobody knew what was coming. But when we did reopen our doors, this not only allowed us to offer the great services, but it also had the safety component in it. Like I said, people were able to check in and check out from their phones or from an iPad that we had freestanding in the waiting area, right? They were able to even leave gratuities right from their phones. So it was all, it really worked out for us. We really, we into a positive, and that's how it also helped out with the safety aspect in such a crucial time as 2020 was.
Yeah. So is there anything else in the process itself that you had to think about in terms of the safety, or is that mainly just, knowing where people are but is there anything, or you mentioned earlier the all natural side of it, right? The product itself and the application. What goes into that process? Is there something technological you're using to manage that?
Yeah. And it also has to do with safety. So, as you mentioned, our wax is all natural. Because of that, it must be prepared daily in our studios. So we are, I would say, the only studio to have a lab dedicated on site to preparing wax for customers prior to their arrival. So everything from melting a larger quantity of wax and then dispensing it into individual warmers for each customer, plays a big part of who we are. And technology helped us out because in the past, there was a ticketing system and it was cumbersome. And as any ticketing system, right? Like when you're thinking about, for example, a restaurant where there's orders coming in and there's tickets going to the kitchen, and you got somebody back there just going, kind of going nuts, figuring out what came in first and all that. Well, technology helped us once we brought this new software on board, because now our lab techs, which is the name of our personnel that is in the lab preparing the wax and all that, they now had an iPad. And on the iPad, they saw guest services, guest times. So they were able to prepare that wax way ahead of time. And it was done in a way where, number one, we weren't printing out a ton of papers, right? So we were able to go green on that end. And number two, you could really look at the entire day, right? You could look at the entire day with the swipe of a finger and just have that wax ready at the temperature, the right amount for that guest for their arrival.
Wow. So like a lot of what you're talking about, if you didn't do it this way, relates to minimize, or, you would have a lot more waste, right? Which would impact your margins, right? Not only waste of the product, but waste of time. But that's what you're saying. And then you also mentioned like the coordination of checking in and checking out. So you've got multiple technologies layered together to really make things efficient, right? And maybe you could bring some clarity to what I just said, right? So that, again, the importance of what you're saying is, because it's so efficient, you could probably, have more throughput, more clients can come in a given day, right? They have a great experience. They don't even know that it's just being worked this way, but their experience is great. Right. So, but that's what we're saying, right? If you didn't have this, I guess it would just mean that people had to spend a lot more time. I couldn't get as many people through their doors every day. And maybe the client experience wouldn't be good, or the patient, or, your customer. So like, is that right? Am I getting that right? Is that the reason you focused on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it streamlined that process completely. We went from system that, like I said, was cumbersome. It was paper based. And imagine, seeing a 12-hour day, with tickets, right? It's pretty chaotic. With technology, our lab techs, again, the people that are in the labs, day in and day out, making sure that the wax is ready, on temperature, right amounts, prepared daily, fresh. They were able to see customers for the entire day, for the following day, and so on and so forth. So to your point, yes, the wax discarding was reduced. We just were much more prepared for our guests. And like you said, it's all behind the scenes, so nobody knows what's going on. They just know that they get there and we're ready for them on time. Just ready to see them.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's just the little things. Like so, I always bring this up almost every episode, but I won't say it the same way. But it's the things like that that will never change. Like people, when they get to an appointment, would just like to be greeted and ready to go. Wouldn't that be a great part of the experience versus waiting a long time, right? So simple as that. And that people never not like that. It's just great feeling when things are smooth like that. All right, so you did a lot of amazing things in your role, and I can say that I've been involved in these projects where you revamp technology and implement things. Tell me a little bit about the challenges of that. Like as a guy, I know you've been through a lot of it. So how do you handle problems, challenges, stay on time, stay on budget? And was there anything unique about some of the stuff you've done in the last 5 years that really taught you some new things about implementing technology?
Yeah. So, Rob, as you know, change is always, difficult, right? For some, takes some convincing, some coaxing. Really have to show them what's in it for them and why it matters that we go in a different route than what we've done for, the 10 or 15 or 20 years. What it really boiled down to is making sure that we were always putting the why first and letting, our teams, our owners, our franchisees, their managers, their whole leadership group, as well as the studio personnel, making sure that they understood why we were making these changes. We also, we implemented the use of a new, warmer, what our average customer would refer to as a pot, right? Where the wax is held during your service, right? But we were able to use a warmer that was a lot smaller. So it was because we use personalized warmers. In other words, because each customer has a warmer that's used only during their service. We needed to make these smaller, lighter, but still capable, right, of withstanding the constant turnarounds. And that was a major change, because you had our providers, our waxers, were really used to what they used in the past, and they were very comfortable with it. Although, it might have been heavier or more difficult to work with, but they were used to it already. So, in bringing about these new warmers or wax pots, that is what the average person would refer to, it really made a difference when it came to, number one, the usage, number two, the impression, right? Like our customers were really able to see that, wow, this pot is exclusively for my visit. It holds the amount of wax that is needed for my service. And then behind the scenes, once again, the turnaround was a lot faster to disinfect, a lot faster to fill up again and put back into the rotation. So that was one of the biggest changes. And, once we showed the team what it meant to them and what it meant to our customers, that's where it really started to get everybody on board. This is really, I want to say, the waxing, industry or the world is really a female dominated, type from a customer base, right? You still have to this day a lot more, female customers than you do males, although that group is growing, but still it's predominantly female. And it was important. It was important for us to give them that peace of mind and for them to see, not just believe in what we were, promoting and what we were saying, but to be able to see it during their their visit was very important to us. And this was, it was very important for us to accomplish. And we did. And we did it in a time again where there was a lot of changes going on. But I've always been a believer that when you show or you tell people the why, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the tell them what tell them what you're going to teach them, tell them what you taught them, or however you want to phrase that. But it is that emphasis. So it's like you tell me how sanitary and how efficient and how good, and and then I see it, and then you might even remind me again and again in the marketing that you do this. So it's just, but you got it. But the seeing part is key, right? The experience part, right? To be able to do all that together. Some people don't talk about it enough. They just do it and don't talk about it, right? So it's good to do it all together. Anyway, so as I want to kind of get into a subject that really has exploded the last couple of years, and that is AI, right? And this idea of generative AI. AI is not new technology, but its breakthroughs of the last few years are very significant. And I notice you guys, you talk a lot about your tech because you've been automating and using technology to streamline things for a long time, right? And so now you have this other option, I guess, at some point that might be there for something to do with AI. But tell me a little bit about your philosophy there, kind of what you're thinking. I also know that you guys would rather augment staff and just equip them to be better at what they're doing and more effective, right? For the customer. So how do you see AI working into the future, maybe, and your philosophy as an executive, how do you see integrating that into the future models of your business?
So I can tell you, Rob, right now, we're leveraging AI to create kind of like the customer flow. So being able to support us with the communication, the touch points that we have with the new customer versus what we have with an existing customer. The email automations that go out, what's communicated, right? So we use it to really, again, have those touch points with the different customers, new or existing, for a lot of that, of the menial things, a lot of the day-to-day things, right? We still handle, any issues that arise. It's not AI. It's somebody on our support team that's taking care of a customer incident or something of that nature. We're not using AI for that. It's more for, at this point, just making sure that when we follow up, how we follow up, right? What those touch points look like after your visits, before your visit to prepare you and things like that. That's where we are now. That's how we kind of dipped our toes into the water of what is AI. In the future, I think it could play a much larger role because, again, like you said, we're really trying to make the customer experience as seamless as possible. We want customers to feel identified with our company based on how they're able to interact with us. And I think that in the future, AI can really help support that following phase. Without eliminating or without taking over anyone's position, we could actually just use it to enhance that. So, we've definitely, we're using it now to a degree, and we're seeing how we can leverage it for the future.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at that is there'll be things we can do that we just would never thought of doing as people because of AI, right? And not to get so stuck, but I think experience, right? So experience, that'll never go away. Like when I want to enjoy something or experience a service, human to human, right? But it doesn't mean AI is not surrounding it and making it efficient, however that looks. But to me, the future is still, I think if there is something that's I'm bullish on as far as people being involved in, it's the kind of experience you guys provide. You really want that interaction and to interact with somebody and to go through the process. And that can be enhanced. Maybe there's things you don't do today because it simply wouldn't make sense to do it. But if AI were doing other things, now you can do more on the experience side, right? And that's the way I see it. But it seems like that's kind of what you're saying too is, we're just going to enhance, right? And replace things that we don't want to do anyway, or that aren't efficient for people to do, or go invent new things to do that we couldn't have done. And I think that's the big part, is that things we haven't thought of doing yet that we would be able to do. So
Agreed.
that's
Agreed.
exciting.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I believe it's going to free up our coordinators to spend quality time with those folks that have the questions, have the concerns, right? And for those folks that are a bit more experienced, that just want to, come into the studio and receive a service, they'll be able to do that. And if they need anything else, that can be used. We can use it for that sense, right? When somebody doesn't need that personalized approach, when they know what they're doing, and they just want to be in control. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it is just paying attention to what we want as people. No matter what happens, there'll be the human acceptance or rejection, right? Like we've decided to make the iPhone a thing we carry around with us, right? That was our choice. It was useful enough at one point where we do that, but it's not like someone said we need to start doing this. And I think that's what AI looks like. It's just we'll vote on with our wallets and our time and our focus on things that help us in our life, and somehow we're going to get to a future that doesn't look like today, is what I believe. I don't know when that'll happen exactly. So, but it's all good. So just in terms of looking ahead a little, I know you kind of talked a little bit about that, but is there anything else as an executive in this role that you think about that's on your radar, kind of like the next thing? Is there anything like that you're thinking about? Or is it more just efficiencies around what you've been putting into place the last 5 years?
It really is about fine tuning and perfecting what we've been doing over the last 5 years, making sure we can do that really, really well, and that we're known for that in the space, in the waxing space, right? Build that reputation, and then seeing what the future might hold. But I think, as you mentioned before, it's customers in our industry. They can still have the benefit of that interaction, one-on-one, right? And have that human experience, have somebody explain, have somebody be the ones to answer their questions and whatnot. And then, of course, provide a great service. But we're really just focused on making sure that we do those things really, really well right now, before we move on to anything else.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to be. It's not easy to get there. Like that's because you got everything done and it's working good. So that's really good, man. So that's kind of why I phrased it that way, because it seems like, if you get to that place, you don't need to go do something new unless you do, right? Unless there's something real to do, if helping the business. So being what I just said, there's a lot of people in roles like yours with lots of different things they're looking at, trying to figure out how do we streamline this or that, refreshing that platform or this one. Lots of things they probably have to move through to try to get to this point that you guys are kind of at, where you have this seamless sort of thing happening and your customers just feel that it's just a great experience, but all this tech enables this efficiency. How does another guy in your role, what advice might you have for someone who might be at the beginning of that place? Right? And maybe they didn't have your experience. I don't know how you felt at the beginning of this journey. Maybe it was pretty, overwhelming, or maybe no, I've been here and done that. But for anyone who is looking at this world and maybe at the beginning of that journey with a brand, trying to figure out how do we achieve some of these things, what advice would you give them?
So, you just mentioned it. We're in the business of people, right? We're in the business of making people feel and look at their best. And I think, for anybody who's in business, that's their number one objective, right? Make sure your customer feels good. Make sure your customer is satisfied with the services or the products that you're providing. So we're always going to be in the people business. And my advice would be to never push down, but instead start from the field, see what's really needed, see what your customers are asking for, see what your teams need, and then go and find the solution, right? Versus maybe just looking at business intelligence reports or having a sense or a feel of what might work and then trying it out. What you really do should just stick to the ground and see what reality is. What is happening in your door, in your four walls? What's, customers that are coming through your door, what are they saying? What are they thinking? And then build from there. right?
Yeah.
Instead of maybe identifying a great product or using a platform because somebody else is using it or because the times are dictating it. And, you might not even need it, or it might be counterproductive to another objective you might have. So always, think about people, whether it's customers or your teams, and build from there.
Yeah. And so just as a follow-up to that, I mean, and I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it for the benefit of the audience, right? Like, how important is that to the franchisee that you guys are doing that you're handling the platform and you're driving the technological advancement? And how important is it also to you to have that network in place for the feedback loops and the collaboration?
Well, it's great because we're able to provide our franchisees with the insight that they need to really, A, run their business, B, identify any gaps they might have in performance relative to other studios in the network, right? And then, last but not least, it's just in today's world, you really have to be able to read the situation and react, right? And be able to or take action fast. So with what we offer, not just at the studio level, but what we give our franchisees from a business intelligence standpoint, the reporting and the tools that we provide them with really help them make those decisions in real time, decisions that they need to make in order to be successful. And it can be the difference, between making a program such as our membership really a huge success for them, or, taking longer for it to develop. So that's what I feel really makes major or the biggest difference.
Huge difference. Yeah. I mean, and that concept of building a membership and I guess like subscription revenue or at least more repeat purchases and all that. I mean, that you need to do that. Like if you want to survive longer term, and that's a great business strategy and a great anchor for any business to have, audiences and lists and repeat revenue and predictable revenue. And so, brilliant stuff. And it's what people want. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's a community. It's a service I love. It helps my life. So it's what a lot of brands do. It's great that you're doing it. And I don't see it as much on the offline world, but it's more and more. And as I said, it's as a franchisee coming into this, right, with maybe no tech background, it's a great thing to have. So congrats on getting it all in place, right? The last few years. And so before we end everything today, could you share a little bit more about how I just want to just do one quick short, what makes you unique, right? Your brand. And then also, how do we get a hold of you? If someone's interested in potentially becoming a franchisee, or just want to know if someone local to them, if they don't know about you by driving by, what have you, how do they get to the website and things?
Sure. So, our wax is proprietary. It's 100% natural. That makes all the difference in the world. It really does. It's gentle even on the most sensitive skin. Customers or other businesses will not be able to find it anywhere, right? Second, we have our personalized warmer guarantee, something else that's really revolutionary in the waxing industry. Traditionally, everybody just, what they do is they take a pot that's in the room, and we actually go a step above and beyond that, where we prepare, like I said before, a warmer. It's going to be used exclusively during your visit, right? How cool is that?
Yeah.
And then, we have lab on site, which is a room that, when I first got here, I thought that, wow, any other business would use this space to just produce more money. But we're using it to make sure that the quality of our product, A, is first and foremost, that we're ready for them, right? When they come in for our customers come in for their service, that we have everything ready to go. And, that's also, what makes us unique, that we have that place in the studio where we're making sure that, customers are getting the best possible product and service that they can receive. As far as contacting us for opportunities, our website is www.unikwax.com. And right there, they'll be able to see a banner that says franchise opportunities. You click on it, that'll go directly to our sales department, and they'll be reached,
Do-
allows.
You got it. And do they get a chance to ever talk to you when they go through the process? Are you part of any of that? The due diligence, the technology, or at least your
We
team?
absolutely are. Yeah, we absolutely are. Once you solicitate the information, you fill out all the respective forms. We have what's called the discovery day. So during that discovery day, we bring those potential or interested candidates into our office. They actually sit down with the head of every department, not just myself. We actually tour our corporate studio, so they get a real feel for what our brand is. So yeah, absolutely. We spend a lot of time with those prospects, making sure that they understand, like you said before, what makes us unique.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I figured that was the answer, it would be exciting to me if I were approaching you guys. I would want to know more and learn about that. So it's really cool stuff. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, Frank. And I definitely want to keep in touch because I know you guys you'll be where you need to be, right? Like when it needs to be there, you'll be there because you're already there. So, and you keep up. That's what I mean by that. So it's fun to talk to you. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
You got it.